I took my 4-year-old son and I said, I want to get you into cardio. I want to strengthen your core. And he's like, what's my core, Dad? And I'm like, right here. And I'm like, this is going to be good father-son time. And then afterward, we're going to go have dinner together, like just me and my son, and we're going to spend good quality time together. And then when I put my son in bed at night, I look at my son and I go, let me tell you about you. You're going to do big things in the world. Let me tell you about you. And I say, you're the best son in the world. And at first he looked at me and goes, you're the best son in the world. And I'm going, no, I'm Dad. The way I structure my coaching is totally different than the way I used to coach structure my coaching. I used to say I'll do Zooms every week and I'll do this every morning and I'll do this, and I'm like, I'm miserable. Like who was the idiot that signed up for this? And it was me. Because I just kept thinking I got to create so much value for these people. And by the way, they didn't show up half the time, and they didn't really know what was going on most of the time, and they didn't care most of the time, and I was just creating all this work for me. And I said the way I do it now is like, hey, I'm going to come back once a quarter. Here's how much it costs. I'm going to do 2.5 hours of coaching. I'm going to do it in a group setting, and I only want to coach the top people, the people who are most interested. Like, don't put me in a room with all the duds and say turn them into studs, right? So I want relationship freedom. I want time freedom. I want money freedom. I want relationship freedom. And listen to this one, I want purpose freedom. Meaning, I want to wake up and go, this matters to me. Yesterday, I took my son. Most of you know I grew up without my father. It's not that my dad was a bad person. He's actually one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He just didn't know how to be a good dad. Everybody with me? And he was young, and he was a kid when he had me, and he didn't know, so he never came to baseball games. He never told me he loved me, never hugged me. And so yesterday I took my 4-year-old son to go boxing, because I box, and that's what my preferred workout, and I took my 4-year-old son and I said, I want to get you into cardio. I want to strengthen your core. And he's like, what's my core, Dad? And I'm like, right here. And I'm like, I'm going to put you in this boxing, right? And I'm like, this is going to be good father-son time. And then afterward, we're going to go have dinner together, like just me and my son, and we're going to spend good quality time together. And then when I put my son in bed at night, I look at my son and I go, let me tell you about you. You're going to do big things in the world. Let me tell you about you. And I say, you're the best son in the world. And at first he looked at me and goes, you're the best son in the world. And I'm going, no, I'm Dad. I'm your dad and you're my son, okay? And then I go, you're the best son in the world. And he looks at me and he goes, you're the best dad in the world. And the reason that's so important for me is because I grew up, my dad never put me into bed at night. He never told me he loved me before we went to bed. He never took me to dinner at Jason's Deli. You understand where I'm going? And my son's sitting there, and there's nobody at Jason's Deli, and he looks at me and he goes, Dad, this is such a peaceful place to have dinner. I'm like, where did that come from? But the fact that I own a business, and I could schedule time to do that with my son yesterday at 4:30, and I could work out, and he could work out, and we could go to dinner together. I went home last night, and I said, that was a good day. Would you agree? I was able to get up and do what I love doing. I was able to coach some people that I love coaching. I was able to generate revenue and close contracts and make some money. And I was able to finish the day with me and my son having dinner at Jason's Deli. And that was a good day. So when I ask people, what do you want? When he asked me, what do you want? This is kind of a standard question, because a lot of when I wrote A to B, you say, why did I write the book A to B? Because when I write a book, I only write a book to solve a problem. The first 3 or 4 books I wrote because I wanted to write a book. But then it's like, what problem would this book solve? How many of you read the book A to B, by the way? Okay, good. And by the way, out of the 22 books that I've written, that's one of my most important books. It's 15 questions. And it just asks you these hard questions like, what do you want to do? Who do you want to work with? How much money do you want to make? What is the aiming point? Like it's like just 15 questions, but if you said, which program do you train the most in your online academy, I go to A to B. And I watch A to B over and over and over and over and over. Because the problem that we're going to tackle today is really, there's a couple problems. One is you're not clear in what you want. You're not clear in where you want to go. Okay? If I ask you the question, what do you want? You couldn't tell me. And you don't have an aiming point. So you're kind of just all over the place. You don't really know the difference between a high value of your time and a low value of your time. Or you're playing with, you're in a vehicle that cannot get you to your B goals. And this is a big problem I see a lot of people, which is why I wrote the book, 8-Figure Skills Stuck in 6-Figure Vehicles. You may be a 7-figure skills stuck in 6-figure vehicles. The problem could be you've chosen a vehicle that just cannot get you from A to B. That is the problem, right? And it's like, how do you tweak it? How do you torch it? Or how do you use it? Like, what could really get you a seat at a bigger table? What does the big table mean to you? Right? And one of my buddies came to me, he was one of my best friends, and he said, I want to make $500,000 a year. And I said, you can't get there the way you're doing it. You're selling real estate, you're selling one house at a time, you don't have a team. There's absolutely zero chance, unless you sell 100 and something houses, you're going to get to that. And I don't think you can get there doing it the way you're getting there, right? And nobody had ever said that to him. He literally thought, I can get to 500 grand, it's just a made up number. I can get to 500 grand just by working harder at what I'm currently doing. And the top real estate agent I ever coached, by the way, was a woman in Houston, Texas. She sold 114 houses by herself with one assistant. Now, that's pretty good, yes or no? Most individual real estate agents ain't going to sell 115 houses. They're going to get to 50 or 60. It's going to kill them in the process. There's no way. So he's actually telling me he wants something that the vehicle he got into cannot get him to. Does everybody see that? He can't get money freedom because he can't get to that, right? And I actually believe a lot of money freedom starts when you get to $1 million of personal income a year. Once you get to $1 million of personal income, your life begins to change significantly. Now, I had an insurance guy, and Stacy, you'll appreciate this, actually say to me, is there a real difference between $250,000 and $650,000? He said, here's what he said. He said, I make $250,000, very arrogant. He said, I make $250,000 a year. I'm 100% happy. And, you know, he said, come on, man, is there a real difference between $250,000 and $650,000? And I'm like, that is the dumbest question anybody's ever asked me. And I've had a lot of dumb questions. Like, a lot of people say a lot of dumb things to me, okay? But I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. There is a 4-time difference between $250,000 and $650,000. There is so much more you could do at $650,000 in personal income versus $250,000. It ain't even close. And by the way, whatever number you want to get to, I thought making $1 million a year was a lot of money until I built this place. And the plumbing in this place was $1 million. True story. When they showed me the plans, they said the MEP, that's mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, was over $1 million for this building. Why? There was no plumbing. There was no toilet. There was no water systems. There was nothing. Like, I think this is going to be simple. And then they send me that bill, and I'm like, what? Do we have gold-plated toilets in here? Like, because I never built something like this before. So $1 million is not a lot of money if you try to do something what? Big. If you want to do something small, then keep doing what you're currently doing. So I want to take a second right here as we get started, and I want to just tell the person beside you, do you have an opportunity confusion problem? Which means there's too many things to pursue. Like right now, I'm involved in greatness factories, confidence factories. I'm involved in data centers investing. I'm involved in multifamily. I'm involved in scaling greatness factories. I'm thinking there's one more that I'm forgetting. And it's like, that tells you that there's too many when you can't remember them all, right or wrong? And I run a coaching business. So it's hard to stay focused when there's so many things you can do. Yes or no? Yes. And y'all are talented people. So when you're talented, guess what happens? There's a lot of opportunity. And the more you become a person of interest, the more that opportunity flows in. Be involved in this deal, be involved in this deal. And I'm like, that looks good, and that looks good, and that looks good. And this one makes a lot of money, and this one makes a lot of money. Oh my gosh, man, I could just sit over here and do nothing and make that much money? Like, that's a dream. And it becomes hard, so you actually have a lot of opportunity confusion. I actually believe, out of all the ideas I've had, I actually believe that the confidence factory for kids could be one of the biggest ones. And I'm licensing that concept. So people pay a $50,000 licensing fee, they pay a 10% royalty back to me, and then they have their own confidence factory. Just like I took Eli last night to go box, it'd be like me taking him to the confidence factory, and for an hour they work on him body, mind, heart, and spirit. And they help him really build the tools, because I'm studying the trends with kids, anxious generation, all kinds of anxiety, all kinds of problems, all kinds of confidence issues. And I don't care if they're my kids or your kids, because my kids have those problems too, and I'm their dad, and this is what I do for a living. And I'm like, I'm in over my head here. You with me? Yeah. Because one day I was at home and I was looking for somebody to work with my daughter, and I typed in #1 expert on confidence for kids in Tennessee. Guess what happened? Guess who popped up? You. Me. And I go, we are shit out of luck. I'm the #1 confidence expert for kids. I'm looking for somebody to work my kids. And it's telling me. It's like I should be the one working with them. So my point to you is, it's like I see a lot of opportunity every single week. Opportunity confusion is a problem you're going to see you may have today, where there's too much opportunity and you can't stay focused on your top 2 or 3. That may be the problem. So number 2 problem could be the vehicle you are currently in cannot get you to where you want to get to financially, or it cannot buy you the 4 freedoms that we're talking about.